Free-to-play games are an excellent resource for gamers who are low on funds or want to try something new without a monetary commitment. There are free-to-play games of nearly every genre, but are they any good? Today, we're taking a look at one of the more recent free games to surface, Once Human, and going into detail on their good, their bad, and their ugly. Starting off in character creation, the game comes with a selection of presets for masculine and feminine faces. You can choose to simply use one of these or go into detail with a myriad of sliders that can adjust just about everything to make the exact face you're after. Despite the insane amount of customization you can put in via the sliders, character creation is let down by the limited swatches available for hair colours. For makeup, you can use a colour wheel to make whatever colour you wish. But this wasn't offered for the hair colours, unfortunately. As you pick your character shape and size, your weight will change respectively. This is important as there are 3 weight brackets, each with their own pros and cons. For example, being less than 65 kilos gives you an additional 15% melee attack speed, but your maximum damage is reduced. Your weight will also affect your carrying capacity. After confirming your character and choosing a name, a cutscene starts, showing a Rosetta researcher taking vitals and making sure we're still in stasis. There is then some kind of issue within the lab, which kills the researcher and releases us from our isolation chamber. There is a dagger in our chest, which we pull out, and then we pick up an activator on the floor, a type of healing item in the game, and heal ourselves. I walk over to a nearby table with a memo on it. This provides us with the access codes we need to be able to open the door and find a way out of the facility. Pressing F opens a container. From here you can either press F again to loot all of the contents, or press spacebar to loot items one at a time. We find another containment room which contains a cradle, a backpack which allows our character to use extra abilities. A note on a nearby body suggests cradles are owned by people called mayflies, and that this cradle was ours. While equipping the cradle, a bird called V appears and explains that he can help us get out of here and teach us more about what we are and where we've come from, if we help him retrieve something called a deviation. We agree, and he sets up portals to help us navigate our way out of the facility. Pressing Q will highlight items that are interactable within a certain radius of your character. You can use this feature as many times as you like. Using this also allows you to see spatial theatres, past memories that have occurred in the location. Eventually, we find the deviation V mentioned, a paper butterfly. We secure the butterfly inside our cradle, and V teleports us to a house in an alternate dimension where we are introduced to Mitsuko. Mitsuko is explaining to us about deviations when she detects that something called a siren has infiltrated the plane we're in. It is harmful to the environment, so we are tasked with getting rid of it. The game then introduces us to survival mechanics by getting us to gather some logs and gravel, as well as some dirty water, in order to be able to craft some items. We can then press T in order to set up a basic camp, which costs 10 gravel and logs. In doing so, we can craft the basic items and gear. While crafting gear is instant, crafting items or smelting, cooking, etc. do take time depending on how many items you wish to make. You can queue things up and you don't need to stay with the crafting bench for the item to be made, but you do have to wait nonetheless. I managed to defeat the siren, but unfortunately I am unable to successfully capture the deviation that it was created from. Mitsuko and V ask us to go back to the physical world so we can chase the deviation that has escaped. Unfortunately, Mitsuko can't come with us because if she did, she would be in grave danger, so we decide to go ahead on her behalf. She does allow us to keep the butterfly in our cradle so that we can use it while we are in the physical world. After we float down into the world, our first task is to find a suitable location and then set up a territory. This is where we'll be able to build our base. The hardest part of the beginning of this game is trying to find somewhere to set up your base that both looks nice and hasn't already been taken over by everyone else. After setting up a foundation of a place that will be my own, I get access to the memetics section. This is a part of the game which allows you to unlock the recipes required to expand your building capabilities. Pressing B opens up the build menu, and then right-clicking opens the building interface, which contains a variety of options, both cosmetic and functional. There is also some additional options that you can find for making houses in the paid cash shop, which, trust me, we'll look at this later. Much like other survival games, there is a tech tree system that you earn points towards. You can then use these points to unlock items, which will allow you to access the next level of the tech factory, and so forth, with each section being more advanced items. The game has a Dark Souls system where you can leave messages on the floor for people. These are usually quite handy, but some of them can be not so much. For example, I found this rift anchor, which you can usually activate, but for some reason I can't activate this one. And it's covered in this kind of weird goop. But then I looked over here and the Great One had put a post up saying that you need to progress a quest and then it will let you unlock the anchor. So I know that's not something that I'm going to miss out on. You can teleport back to your house from pretty much anywhere. This is the only place you can teleport to with no extra requirement, unlike the teleportation towers, which require you to be near another teleportation tower in order to teleport. So I found that the best way to teleport around was to go back to my house from wherever it was that I am, and then use that as the teleportation tower to go to the next place. Pressing J on the standard keybinds brings you to the Journey tab in the menu, a type of task system. While doing throughout the world, you'll be given rewards such as XP and energy links, which are used to buy a lot of resources. You can simply press F to claim all of these. The game will let you know when you've completed a journey task, and as you can see, this will help you level up. Alongside the journey task, you are also given a story to follow, which helps you become acquainted with all of the game's systems, as well as guiding you around the map at a level appropriate time. These guidance systems give you plenty of ideas of what to do and provides a well-needed structure. A lot of survival games fall into the sandbox pit of providing no structure and leaving players feeling overwhelmed. I feel like Once Human has done an incredibly good job of circumventing this. Throughout your journey, there will be side quests that you can accept. If you are close by to one, it will come up with a little symbol on your screen to navigate towards it. V sends us to find some supply crates and materials which we can use to build up our base. While scavenging, we can also find things like food, water and medicines. During our hunt, we run into someone called Mary, who at first is hostile but warms up to us when she discovers that we're a mayfly too. She teaches us how to make better weaponry, and we agree to team up to help dispatch of nearby deviations. Mary explains that I should meet her at Deadsville once I have managed to get myself some upgraded gear. Random items that you find throughout the world can be put into a disassembly bench to be stripped into their raw components, which you can then use for crafting other items. The supplies workbench allows us to craft items such as gathering equipment, healing equipment and ammo. You can also create whispers from this bench, the item required to leave notes for other players, as we saw earlier. In order to craft weapons and certain pieces of armor, you have to make the individual components that make up the item. So for example, in order to create this pistol, we need to create the pistol frame, the recoil action and the pistol slide in order to be able to make it. You can create all of these components within the interface for crafting the original item you wanted to, so the system is well streamlined. Gear and weapons that you find out in the world cannot be repaired. You are only able to repair items you have crafted yourself. Therefore, if you find an excellent weapon in a chest while exploring, it may be best to hold on to it until you fight something challenging, as you'll only be able to use it for a limited time. Another way to upgrade weapons and gear is with calibrations. These increase the overall stats of the item, and hitting certain calibration thresholds will unlock additional attributes. I then arrive at Deadsville after upgrading my gear and speak to Mary, Claire the merchant and a mysterious man called Samuel Lowe. Samuel is very interested in deviations and explains that any we manage to capture, he will reward us for doing so and let us keep it. Mary asks us to check out various rift anchors around the map that need to be activated so we can access the monolith and deal with a strong deviation. Claire wants us to check out a nearby area that her crew members went to, but unfortunately they've yet to return. Before we leave the camp, Mary provides us with a motorcycle, allowing us to traverse the map much quicker. Vehicles have both fuel and damage meters. Vehicles' damage meters are affected by general wear and tear, as well as crashes and hitting deviants. You can collect fuel while scavenging and repair your vehicle at a parking space, which you can build at your base. When going to an area infested with deviants, it is recommended to set up a temporary campsite by pressing T. This becomes a respawn point, so if you die, you are able to respawn close to the area and continue your expedition. We find Claire's caravan members covered in gel and unfortunately deceased, so we pick up her items and then we are greeted with a ravenous thunderstorm, a giant deviant. Thankfully, we managed to destroy it. After activating all of the rift anchors, we then teleport back to the house so we can upgrade our gear and craft some more ammo before we take on the monolith. There are also crafting benches available in the vicinity prior to entering the monolith itself. Entering the monolith puts you up against a boss. In this case, we are fighting the Ravenous Hunter, which is level 10. This is the first monolith boss that you come up against in the main storyline. The fight is split up into 3 phases. During each phase, you attack the boss directly. During the intermission stages, you have to eliminate the spawners that will pop up in the room. The longer these spawners are active, the more deviants they will spawn. If you kill the spawner, it will automatically eliminate any deviants it spawned itself. Once all the spawners have been eliminated, the boss will return to the arena and you can fight it again. We successfully defeated the Ravenous Hunter and we're now able to capture the gel deviation that was inside it. We also get a reward chest with various items in, including an LMG. Each settlement or area will have a small selection of objectives that you can do to complete the area. For some of these, this will include a mystical crate. There is a mystical crate in the area for the Monolith of Greed, and as a bonus, I'm going to show you where that is. Starting from the entrance of the monolith area itself, follow the path and go through the Rosetta Archway. When you get to the top of the ramp with the 16 in front of you, take a right and you'll see a wall with A5 written on it. Go towards the A5 and then up the ramp next to it. Once you get to the top of this ramp, turn left and keep going straight until you come to yet another ramp. At the top here, there is a white building with an opening. Go into the building and then take 2 rights into the glass room. In here is the mystical crate for you to grab. Now I've completed the monolith and surrounding objectives, I teleport to my house to repair the motorcycle and then head to Deadsville to speak to Claire and Samuel. Mary left us a note to meet her in the Dayton wetlands, naturally progressing us into the next area. At the time of writing this script, I've accumulated just under 14 hours in Once Human. The game is not without its flaws, but overall it is a very enjoyable experience. The story is engaging and well written and the voice acting is good. I like that there is structure to help you know what to do, but you're given the freedom to roam the map and do things at your own pace as well. I also found that being given a vehicle to traverse the world with inclined me to explore rather than using teleports, meaning I discovered a lot of little details and chests in the wild. The base building, although clunky at times, is nice, and I like that if you're willing to put the time and resources into it, you can build a really beautiful place. I also appreciate that you can turn your base into a blueprint for the future resets. This means that putting effort into making a nice place never feels wasted. For the most part, the combat feels smooth, although sometimes the servers did feel slightly laggy. The weapons themselves feel weighty and natural to use. I know one complaint a lot of players had was the 6 weekly resets. A seasonal wipe resets the game's server, which means the wipe clears the map, player progress and certain items to make way for new season's content. This is mainly to keep the world fresh and make way for new events, similarly to wipes in Escape from Tarkov and on Rust servers. You do still keep a lot of things, such as story progress for main and side quests, major currencies, territory and gear blueprints, all of your shop bought items, deviants and a limited amount of materials that you had on you prior to the season wipe. While I understand that this can still feel demotivating for players, I think Once Human have handled seasonal wipes very well. For me, the majority of the complaints and suggestions I have for the game are actually surrounding its monetization rather than the gameplay itself. Gameplay wise, I believe this to be a very solid game, and if I were basing my reviews on gameplay alone, I'd be highly recommending everyone give this a try. Free to play games need to make money somehow. Running the servers, paying staff and everything else on top all costs money, and it has to come from somewhere. Unfortunately, I feel that Once Human has taken on predatory practices for their monetization. So let's take a look at the shop. There are 4 ways that you can spend money in the shop, which are cosmetic packs, loot crates, a battle pass, and a meta pass, which is daily rewards for 30 days. I will add a note that the battle pass does only contain cosmetics on the premium track. For the cosmetics, most can be bought in bundles. There is no way to buy individual cosmetic items if you only like a certain item from the bundle. This encourages people to spend more money than they intended to in order to have the outfit that they want. On top of this, the currency used to purchase things in the premium shop, Christian, can only be bought in packs of certain amounts. These packs almost never correspond to the amount you'd need to buy the item you want. Therefore, it is nearly guaranteed that you will be left with spare currency. This is a predatory tactic tactic many free-to-play games use to invite people to spend more money in the future. From a gameplay perspective, a lot of the outfits don't make sense in a futuristic post-apocalyptic game, which can ruin immersion for players and make them feel detached from the world. Once Human has taken on nearly every scummy monetization practice available to them, the only thing I can say for the monetization is that at this point, it is only cosmetics. There is no gameplay items behind a paywall. However, they do sprinkle free rewards throughout the shop which do contain items pertaining to gameplay, essentially forcing everyone to at least look at the shop at some point. So, with all of this on the table, let's take a look at my suggestions. Make all cosmetics singular items, so people can pick and choose which item they wish to buy. Have an item to top up to correct amount with a pro rata price for the amount of Christian needed to purchase an item. For example, if someone has 1200 Christian and they want to buy an item that's 1300, let them press a button and be charged just to add an extra 100 Christian to their account. Add an option for V to lift you into the air while placing roofs, so this can be done easier and feel less clunky. The only lighting I could find for my base was electric, which requires a generator that is quite advanced to be able to build. Have a lighting options for torches or similar so the base doesn't feel so dingy during the early stages of the game. Overall, I enjoy this game. I played the game for multiple hours before deciding to start recording, and I've continued to play it since. It feels like a well-made survival game with good direction, a decent storyline, and a satisfying progression system. I do recommend that people give this game a try, especially since it comes with no upfront cost. However, I do want people to be aware of the monetary practices that are being deployed here, and urge people to only play this game if they believe that they're not vulnerable to the tactics on show. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know what you thought of both the game and my thoughts. I always love to hear what you have to say. Take care, and I hope I'll see you next time.